The story begins with Jane, her husband, and her young daughter, Emily, moving into their new house. They are excited about their new home and the possibilities that it holds. They unload boxes and furniture, and Jane is shown looking around the house with a sense of wonder and happiness. As they begin to settle in, Jane starts to hear strange noises coming from the walls and the attic. She brushes it off as the house settles, but the noises continue to happen at night. She starts to see shadowy figures out of the corner of her eye, but when she turns to look, there is nothing there. Jane mentions her concerns to her husband, but he dismisses them, saying it's just her imagination. Jane starts to feel isolated and alone in her fears. After a few days, the family starts to notice that the furniture in the house seems to move on its own, and Emily starts to have nightmares. Jane becomes increasingly convinced that something is not right in the house. As the strange occurrences continue, Jane starts to investigate the history of her new home. She discovers that the house was built on land that was once a burial ground for a small, obscure religious sect. This revelation serves to deepen the sense of unease and foreshadows the events to come. Jane continues to research the history of the house and the land it was built on. She discovers that the religious sect that once occupied the land believed in the power of the dead to protect and guide the living, and they buried their dead in shallow graves on the land. Jane begins to have vivid nightmares about the dead rising from their graves and seeking revenge. She starts to feel like the spirits of the dead are somehow connected to the strange occurrences in the house. Jane visits a local occult expert who confirms her suspicions. The expert tells her that the spirits of the dead are angered by the way they were treated by the sect and that they are now seeking revenge. As the strange occurrences continue to escalate, Jane's husband and daughter become more and more affected by the spirits. Her husband starts to have strange mood swings and her daughter becomes more withdrawn and distant. Jane starts to feel like the spirits are closing in on her and her family. She becomes more determined than ever to find a way to banish the spirits and protect her loved ones. Jane starts to research ways to banish the spirits. She discovers that a ritual needs to be performed to send the spirits back to the afterlife. She turns to the occult expert for help. The occult expert provides Jane with the necessary knowledge and materials for the ritual. He warns her that the ritual is dangerous and that if it is not performed correctly, it could have dire consequences. Jane performs the ritual at night when the spirits are the most active. She is determined to banish the spirits and protect her family. The ritual goes wrong, and instead of banishing the spirits, it unleashes them. The spirits now possess Jane's daughter and her husband, and they begin to torment and attack Jane. Jane is now alone and must confront the spirits. She is determined to save her loved ones and banish the spirits once and for all. Jane must now confront the spirits alone. She must find a way to banish them before they harm her loved ones. She starts to research ways to banish the spirits and discovers an ancient spell that is said to have the power to banish the spirits permanently. Jane begins to gather the necessary materials for the spell. She must venture into the dark and eerie woods to find rare herbs and crystals. She knows she will be in danger of being caught by the spirits. Jane finally performs the spell in her home with her possessed loved ones. The spirits fight back and try to stop her, but she remains determined. The spell works and the spirits are finally banished. Jane's loved ones are saved, but not without consequences. They are left traumatized by the experience. Jane is relieved that her loved ones are safe, but the trauma of what they have been through is still fresh in their minds. They all struggle to come to terms with what they have been through. Jane's husband and daughter are left with mental and emotional scars. They both have trouble sleeping and have nightmares. Jane must find a way to help them cope with what they have been through. Jane starts to investigate the sect that once occupied the land. She wants to know more about the rituals they performed and the reason behind their actions. She finds out that the sect was led by a charismatic leader who had convinced the members to perform the human sacrifices and rituals, promising them that it would bring them closer to the afterlife and protect them from the spirits. Jane starts to feel guilty for what happened to her family and the sect's members. She feels responsible for unleashing the spirits and starts to question the morality of the rituals the sect performed. Jane, her husband, and her daughter leave the house in the woods. They leave behind the memories of what happened and move on to start a new life.